Oxford Read and Discover Level 1 Eyes by Rob Sved. Read by Christopher Ragland. Introduction. People and animals see with their eyes. You have 2 eyes. Some animals have many eyes. Eyes can be little or big, and they can be many colors. What animals have these eyes? What color are your eyes?
Discover!
Now, read and discover more about eyes. Chapter 1 Animal Eyes. What do animals do with their eyes? They look for food. The duck looks for food in water. The gecko has big eyes. It can see well at night. It looks for insects to eat. Eyes help to protect animals from other animals. The crab has 2 eyes on top of its body. It can see big animals, and then it can run away. Chapter 2 Parts of an Eye. Let's look at an eye. It has many parts. This is an elephant's eye. The eyelid and the eyelashes protect the eyeball. There are tears in the eye, too. The eyelid opens and closes, and the tears clean the eye. The pupil lets light into the eye. This helps people and animals to see. When there's lots of light, the pupil is little. When there's no light, the pupil is big.
Discover!
People have tears to clean their eyes. People cry tears when they are sad, too. Chapter 3 Eyes at the Front. People and many animals have 2 eyes at the front of their head. This helps them to see things far away. The hawk can fly fast, and it can see very well, too. This helps it to hunt little animals to eat. The monkey has eyes at the front of its head. It can jump from tree to tree, and it doesn't fall.
Discover!
Owls have eyes at the front of their head. Some owls can move their head around and see behind. Chapter 4 Eyes at the Sides. Many animals have eyes at the sides of their head. They can see in front and behind. The frog has eyes at the sides of its head. It can look for insects to eat. The hammerhead shark has a long, flat head. It has eyes at the sides of its head. When it swims, it can see all around. The stalk-eyed fly can see all around too. It has eyes on 2 long stalks.
Discover!
The chameleon sees all around very well. One eye moves up, and the other eye moves down. Chapter 5 in water. The seal lives on land and in water. It has big, round eyes. It can see very well in water. It hunts fish to eat. The flatfish has 2 eyes on one side of its body. It can lie at the bottom of the ocean and look up.
Discover.
Fish live in water, and they don't have eyelids. They don't close their eyes. Chapter 6. In the dark. At night, some animals sleep. Many other animals look for food. The lemur looks for fruit and little animals to eat. It has big eyes with big pupils. It can see very well in the dark. It's very dark at the bottom of the ocean. The flashlight fish has lights under its eyes. This helps it to look for little fish to eat. In the dark, cats and dogs have bright eyes. They can see very well. Look at this cat. What color are its eyes? Chapter 7. Many eyes. Some animals have many eyes. Many spiders have 6 or 8 eyes. The scallop can have more than 50 little eyes. How many of the eyes can you see here? Some insects have very many eyes. Look at this dragonfly. Each eye is thousands of little eyes together. Chapter 8. Protect your eyes. It's important for animals to protect their eyes. In the desert, there's a lot of sand. The camel has long eyelashes, so the sand doesn't go in its eyes. The meerkat lives in the desert too. It's sunny and windy there. Its eyelids clean the sand from its eyes. The meerkat has black fur around its eyes. This protects its eyes when it's sunny. People wear sunglasses when it's very sunny. This protects their eyes. Eyes are important. Remember to protect them.
Oxford Read and Discover, Level 2, Earth, by Richard Northcott. Read by Laurel Lefko. Introduction. Let's look at Earth. Let's look at oceans and rivers, mountains and forests. Earth is amazing, and it has lots of amazing places. Where is it hot on Earth? Where is it cold on Earth? Where can we find water on Earth?
Discover.
Now read and discover more about Earth. Chapter 1. What is Earth? We're in space, and we're looking at Earth. What can we see? We can see many colors. We can see land, water, and clouds. Earth is a planet. There are many, many planets in space, but there's only one Earth. Earth is our home. Millions of plants, animals, and people live here. On the land, there are forests, mountains, and deserts. Most of Earth's water is in oceans, but there's water in lakes and rivers too.
Discover.
Earth goes around the sun every year. Earth also turns every day. Chapter 2. Land. We live on the land. The land is under our feet. The land can be snowy mountains or green valleys. It can be forests or deserts. These mountains are in China. Next to the mountains, there are valleys. The mountains and valleys on Earth are millions of years old. The land can fall into the ocean and make cliffs. These amazing cliffs are in Australia. Rivers can make deep valleys in the land. These deep valleys are called canyons. Look at this amazing canyon in Peru. It's called the Colca Canyon. Chapter 3. Water. On Earth, there's water in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Most rivers come from mountains. Snow falls on the mountains. The snow melts and the water goes down the mountains. Rain falls, then more water goes into the rivers. Most rivers go to the ocean. When a river comes to a cliff, it makes a waterfall. Niagara Falls are amazing waterfalls in Canada and the USA. When the ocean is calm, the waves are small. People can swim in the ocean when it's calm. In bad weather, the ocean can be rough. The wind makes big waves. People can't swim in the ocean when it's rough. Chapter 4. Hot places. A lot of hot places on Earth are near the equator. Near the equator, the light from the sun is strong. It's often hot in summer and in winter. There are many hot deserts near the equator. Monument Valley is in a desert in the USA. It's very hot and sunny there. There are weeks and months with no rain. In some very hot places in summer, there's no water in the rivers. Plants and fish can't live there.
Discover.
When it's hot, the lungfish makes a hole in the soil. It can live there with no water. Chapter 5. Cold Places. The Arctic and the Antarctic are very cold places. In the Arctic and the Antarctic, the light from the sun is weak. Winter is very long. It's dark for 6 months. In the Arctic, there's lots of deep snow. People can't drive their cars in the snow, so they use sleds and dogs. There's lots of snow in the Antarctic, too. Penguins live in the Antarctic. When it's very cold, they stand near their friends, so they are not cold.
Discover.
In the Arctic and the Antarctic, electricity from the sun makes amazing colors in the sky. Chapter 6. Wet Places. Do you like cold, rainy days? In some places, there are lots of rainy days. Rain isn't always cold. Rain often comes with hot weather. In India, there's lots of rain in hot weather. It's rainy there from June to September. People go everywhere with an umbrella. The rainy time in India is called the monsoon. It's very wet in rainforests, too. It's often hot and rainy. Many amazing animals and plants live in rainforests.
Discover.
This rainforest plant can eat insects. Chapter 7. Under the Land. Let's look at the land. What can we see? We can see soil. Plants live in soil, and they find water there. Under the soil, there's rock. Rock is millions of years old. Deep in earth, the rock is very, very hot. When a volcano erupts, hot rock comes out. People and animals run. They are scared. There's water under the land, too. The water can make caves. You can see amazing rock in caves. These caves are in Slovenia. They're called the Scotian Caves.
Discover.
In the Scotian Caves, the river goes under the land for 34 kilometers. Chapter 8. In the Ocean. The ocean is an amazing place. There are millions of fish and plants in the ocean.
Discover.
It's dark in the deep ocean. Some animals make light so they can see in the dark. Do you know there are cliffs, mountains, and volcanoes in the ocean? There are long, deep canyons, too. They are called trenches. They are in the ocean floor. The deep ocean is cold and dark. We can't swim there. We can't see the ocean floor. With new cameras, we can learn more about the deep ocean. Every day, we learn new things about Earth.
Oxford Read and Discover Level 3 Animals in the Air by Robert Quinn. Read by Christopher Ragland. Introduction. We see lots of animals in the air. Many of them have wings and can fly, like birds, butterflies, and bats. Other animals can jump into the air, like frogs and kangaroos. What animals can you see here? Which animals can fly? Which animals can jump?
Discover.
Now, read and discover more about animals in the air. Chapter 1. Animals that fly. Many animals fly because it helps them to stay safe, and they can move around fast to find food. For example, bees fly to collect nectar from flowers. Then, they use the nectar to make honey. Some animals fly to hunt other animals so that they can eat them. For example, owls fly to hunt smaller animals, like mice. Some animals fly to stay safe from other animals that want to eat them. For example, small birds fly to escape from cats and dogs. Many birds make their homes in tall trees where they are safe. Some birds, like storks, make their nests in high places, like the top of tall poles or buildings.
Discover.
Some storks make very big nests. The nests can be 2 meters across. Chapter 2. Wings and Feathers. Birds have many small feathers on their body. The feathers keep birds warm and dry. Most birds also have longer feathers on their wings and tail. These are called flight feathers because they help birds to fly. Birds have very thin bones with air spaces inside. The bones are very light, so it's easy for birds to fly. Some birds have very big wings. The Andean condor is one of the biggest flying birds in the world. It can have a wingspan of 3 meters. Other flying birds are small, with short wings. Some hummingbirds have a wingspan of only 6 centimeters.
Discover.
The biggest flying bird was the giant teratorn. It lived about 6 million years ago, and it had a wingspan of up to 7 meters. Chapter 3. Amazing Flyers. Most birds can fly, and some of them are amazing flyers. The fastest bird in the world is the peregrine falcon. When it's diving straight down, a peregrine falcon can fly at more than 200 kilometers per hour. Swallows are really amazing flyers. They hunt insects in the air, so they need to dive and turn very fast. It's fun to watch swallows in the evening when there are lots of insects flying around. Some birds make amazing journeys to find food or to travel to a place to have their babies. Bar-tailed godwits fly all the way from New Zealand to Alaska. That's about 16,500 kilometers. The journey only takes about 1 week, with a short stop in China to rest and eat.
Discover.
Swifts are small birds that spend most of the time flying. They can even sleep in the air. Chapter 4. Flying High. Some birds, like bar-headed geese, fly very high. Bar-headed geese can fly over the highest mountains in the world, the Himalayas. Some of these mountains are more than 8,000 meters high.
Discover.
Ruppel's vultures can fly at more than 11,000 meters high. That's higher than many planes. Some birds, like vultures, condors, and eagles, don't move their wings a lot when they are flying high. They soar on warm air currents that are moving around. Birds that can soar have long, wide wings. It's easier for birds to soar when it's sunny. The sun makes the land warm. Then, the land makes the air warm, and warm air currents go up. Birds go up on the air currents, and they soar in circles high in the air. Chapter 5. Insects that fly. The first flying animals in the world were insects. They lived about 350 million years ago. Today, most insects have wings and can fly. Their wings grow from their thorax, the middle part of their body. Many insects, like bees and butterflies, have 4 wings. Some insects, like flies and mosquitoes, only have 2 wings. Some of the biggest flying insects today are atlas moths from Southeast Asia. These moths have a wingspan of about 30 centimeters. Some of the fastest flying insects in the world are dragonflies. Green darner dragonflies can fly at more than 50 kilometers per hour.
Discover.
The biggest flying insects were Meganura dragonflies. They lived about 300 million years ago and had a wingspan of about 70 centimeters. Chapter 6. Flying Together. Many birds fly together in big groups called flocks. Some small birds fly in flocks to stay safe from hunting birds, like eagles and falcons. Other birds, like ducks and geese, fly in flocks when they move to a new place. Starlings are small birds that usually fly in small flocks. These flocks sometimes join together to make big flocks with thousands of starlings. They look like dark clouds. Some flying insects, like bees, moths, and locusts, fly in big groups called swarms. Sometimes there are millions of insects all together. When locusts are very hungry, they eat all the green plants that they find. Swarming locusts are a big problem for farmers.
Discover.
Bees only fly in swarms when they are moving to a new home. Special scout bees show the swarm where to go. Chapter 7. Jumping Mini Beasts. Some mini beasts, like grasshoppers, can jump really well. Grasshoppers are good jumpers because they have strong back legs. They can jump 20 times their body length. Fleas are mini beasts that live in the hair of many animals, like dogs and cats. Fleas can't fly, but they can jump about 100 times their body length. That's how fleas move from one animal to another. All spiders can make silk. Many spiders make silk webs to catch insects. Jumping spiders don't make webs. They wait for insects, and then they jump on them. They jump from a silk thread. These spiders can jump about 80 times their body length.
Discover.
Springtails are mini beasts with a special tail that works like a spring. Springtails don't have wings, so they use their tail to push themselves into the air. Chapter 8. Bats in the Air. Did you know that bats are the only mammals that have wings and can fly? Their wings have long, thin bones that look like fingers. There's a membrane of skin between the bones. Many bats have a membrane between their legs, too. Some bats use this membrane as a net to catch insects in the air.
Discover.
The biggest bats are fruit bats. They eat fruit, flowers, and pollen. They're also called flying foxes. Bats usually rest in the day and fly at night. When they fly, bats make special sounds that bounce off things around them. Bats hear these echoes and use them to find their way at night. This is called echolocation. Bats also use echolocation to find insects and other food to eat. Chapter 9. Jumping Mammals. Some mammals are excellent jumpers. This helps them to stay safe from people and other animals. Red kangaroos can jump over fences that are 3 meters high. They are also fast. They can jump at more than 50 kilometers per hour. Springbok gazelles can jump very far. They can travel more than 15 meters in one jump. Springbok gazelles can also jump straight up in the air. This is called pronking. Some mammals, like gibbons, are good at jumping and swinging between trees. Gibbons can swing about 9 meters from one branch to another. They can travel at more than 30 kilometers per hour in this way.
Discover.
Flying squirrels can't really fly. They have membranes between their body and their legs. They use these membranes to glide in the air like kites. Chapter 10. Frogs, Snakes, and Fish. Amphibians can't fly, but some of them can glide in the air. Gliding leaf frogs have membranes between their fingers and toes. They can use these membranes to glide. Some reptiles can glide too. Paradise tree snakes make their body very wide and flat, and they can glide about 100 meters through the air. We sometimes see fish in the air too. Flying fish can jump out of the water and glide for hundreds of meters. Flying fish have big fins that look like wings. Lots of animals can move around by flying, jumping, and gliding. Look around you today. Do you see any animals in the air?
Oxford Read and Discover, Level 4, All About Ocean Life, by Rachel Bladen, read by Walter Lewis. Introduction. A lot of Earth is covered by saltwater oceans. The oceans are home to many types of life, from the smallest plants to the biggest whales. What do you know about oceans? Which mammals live in the oceans? Which animals can you find in icy oceans?
Discover.
Now read and discover more about wonderful ocean life. Chapter 1. Oceans of the World. There are 5 oceans, and they cover about 70% of Earth. Oceans and their seashores are different all around the world. On the Arctic Ocean and the Southern Ocean, there's a lot of ice in winter. In warm tropical oceans, you can find colorful coral reefs where very many plants, fish, and other animals live. An ocean is always moving because of waves, currents, and tides. When the wind blows over the water, it makes waves. Currents are large amounts of warm or cold water that move around the ocean. An ocean also moves up the seashore and back again 2 times a day. These movements are called tides. Living in the ocean is very different to living on land. Ocean plants and animals have special ways of breathing, eating, moving, and keeping safe.
Discover.
The blue whale is the biggest animal in the world. It can be more than 30 meters long. It moves well in the ocean because the water holds it up. Chapter 2. Who eats what? In the ocean, there are lots of very small animals and plants called plankton. The plankton live near the top of the ocean because they need sunlight. Small fish eat plankton. Big animals eat the small fish. Then even bigger animals eat them. So plankton are important for almost every ocean animal. This is called a food chain. Animals that eat other animals are called predators. The animals that they eat are called prey. Most sharks are predators. Sharks can swim very fast to catch their prey.
Discover.
The whale shark is the biggest fish in the world. It's as long as a bus. It has no teeth, so it only eats plankton and small shrimps. Lots of seaweed called kelp grows near the seashore. The kelp is a safe home for many fish. Sea urchins eat kelp, and sea otters eat a lot of sea urchins. So, sea otters help to keep enough kelp in the ocean for the fish to live in. Chapter 3. The Seashore. There's a lot of ocean life near the seashore because the water here is full of food. Many birds, fish, and shellfish live and feed near the seashore. The seashore is not always a safe place. Big waves can throw animals onto rocks or carry them away. At low tide, animals and plants can easily dry out in the sun. Limpets are animals that have a special strong foot that holds onto rocks. This keeps them safe from big waves. They also have a hard shell so they don't dry out. Most trees can't live in salty ocean water, but mangrove trees grow on the seashore in tropical places. They have special roots so they can live in salt water. Many fish and other animals live under the roots of mangrove trees. Under the water, sea anemones use their long tentacles to catch food and to sting their predators. At low tide, they pull their tentacles in so they don't dry out. Chapter 4. Mammals and Birds. A mammal is an animal that drinks milk from its mother and breathes air. Most mammals, like people and elephants, live on land. Some mammals live in the ocean. Because they feed and move in water, ocean mammals are different from land mammals in many ways. The sea lion's body has a shape like a fish, so it can swim very fast. It doesn't have front legs, but it has flippers that pull it through the water. Whales are ocean mammals. Like all whales, the sperm whale breathes through a hole on its head called a blowhole. Sperm whales can stay underwater for 2 hours, and they can dive a long way down into the ocean. Some birds live, feed, and sleep on the ocean. They catch fish by diving under the water. Some birds only come to the seashore to make nests and to lay eggs.
Discover.
The albatross has bigger wings than any other bird. The two wings can be more than 3 meters wide. The albatross can fly up to 1,000 kilometers a day. Chapter 5. Coral Reefs. Corals are small animals that make hard covers around themselves. The covers are many different shapes and colors. Coral reefs are places where lots of corals live together. They are beautiful underwater worlds. Many different plants and animals live on coral reefs. Coral reef fish are very colorful, so they are camouflaged. It's not easy to see them near the coral. Clownfish live near the tentacles of sea anemones. Predators don't come near because the tentacles can sting them. The clownfish are safe because they have a special skin. Predators don't come near lionfish either. The spines of a lionfish can sting a fish and stop it moving, or even kill it. Small fish called cleaner wrasse work hard on coral reefs. They eat the little plants and animals that live on big fish. Big fish don't eat the cleaner wrasse. They open their mouths so the wrasse can clean inside. Chapter 6. Keeping Safe. Small fish and other animals have to keep safe from predators. Some fish swim together in big groups called shoals. In a shoal, there are more fish to look out for predators. There are also lots of fish to eat. So, if a fish is lucky, the predator eats one of the other fish. The leafy sea dragon is very well camouflaged. When it hides in seaweed, other fish can't see it. Can you see this leafy sea dragon?
Discover.
If the starfish loses an arm, it can grow a new one. Octopuses camouflage themselves by turning a different color. Can you see this octopus? When an octopus is scared, it can also make a big cloud of black ink. This surprises predators and gives the octopus time to swim away. When the porcupine fish sees a predator, it drinks lots of water. This makes its body big and round like a ball, and its spines stand up. Predators know that they can't eat it, so they don't come near. Chapter 7. Catching Prey. Big predators are very good at catching their prey. Sharks can smell and see very well. The hammerhead shark has nostrils and eyes at the ends of its head, so it can see and smell all around. The electric ray can give other fish an electric shock. This stops them moving or kills them, so that the ray can eat them.
Discover.
Electric rays make electricity. Some make enough electricity to work a television. All jellyfish have tentacles that can sting. When a fish swims near a jellyfish, the tentacles sting it many times. The jellyfish can then eat the fish. The anglerfish lives in deep water, where it's very dark and cold. But it has a small light on its head. When small fish see the light, they think it's something that they can eat. When they swim near, the anglerfish eats them. Chapter 8. Icy Oceans. Large parts of the Arctic Ocean and Southern Ocean have ice on them in winter. There are also big icebergs. In summer, a lot of the ice melts. Then, there are little pieces of ice in the oceans, and the icebergs are smaller. Polar bears live in the Arctic. Most of the year, they live on ice. They catch seals from holes in the ice. They also swim between the ice and icebergs. Polar bears are the biggest type of bear, but their cubs are very, very small when they are born. In summer, the Southern Ocean has a lot of plankton. Many dolphins, whales, seals, and birds come there to feed. Penguins live near the South Pole. They dive into the ocean for fish and other small animals. They have special feathers that keep them warm and dry. Their feathers are so warm that penguins can sometimes get too hot.
Discover.
A penguin keeps its egg on its feet so it doesn't get cold on the ice. Chapter 9. Farming the Oceans. People started fishing a long time ago, but today, fishermen with big boats can catch a lot of fish. Sometimes we take too many fish from the ocean. In many parts of the world, people farm fish in the ocean. The fish grow quickly, and they are also easy to catch. There are other types of farm in the ocean. In some places, farmers grow seaweed. When the seaweed is big enough, farmers collect it and dry it on land. Then they sell it. People eat it, and other farmers put it on their fields.
Discover.
People use seaweed to make ice cream. In the Pacific Ocean, farmers grow pearls. They put pieces of shell inside shellfish called oysters. And then they put the oysters on ropes. Hard, shiny covers called pearls grow around the shell pieces. Farmers sell pearls for a lot of money. Chapter 10. Oceans in Danger. There are many dangers for ocean birds and other animals. Big boats carry oil across the oceans. If the oil goes into the water, birds and other animals eat it. It also gets on their skin or feathers. It can kill them. Dirty water and chemicals from toilets, factories, and farms also go into the oceans. They can kill plants, fish, and other animals. People leave things on the beach, too, and sometimes these things can hurt animals. Sea turtles eat plastic bags because when they are in the water, they look like jellyfish. Sometimes big fishing nets catch dolphins, sea turtles, seals, and birds. Coral reefs are not safe either because they need clean water. Boats can break them too. So now we need to keep the ocean clean and safe. There are new rules so people can't take too many fish from the ocean. There are also new types of fishing net. Big animals can swim out of these nets. Now there are also some marine parks, special places where the ocean is always clean and safe.
Oxford Read and Discover, Level 5, Exploring Our World, by Jacqueline Martin, read by Barbara Barnes. Introduction. Explorers are people who leave their home to discover new places or to learn new things about people, plants, or animals. To learn more about our world, they go on exciting journeys through forests, across hot or icy deserts, up mountains, or down rivers. Do you know about any famous explorers? Do you know what places they explored and why? Where are these places?
Discover.
Now read and discover more about explorers and exploring our world. Chapter 1. Exploring. Thousands of years ago, early people knew about only a very small part of the world. Today, we know a lot more, and some of our information comes from explorers. Explorers have changed the world. Why do people explore? Early people traveled around to find food and water. Most explorers travel because they are curious and want to discover new places and to learn new things. Some early explorers hoped to get rich by discovering new plants, animals, or treasures, and by selling them when they got home. Today, explorers travel to have an adventure, to learn more about remote places, to find something new to help science, or maybe to be famous. Where do people explore? Early explorers wanted to find new places or people. They crossed land and explored deserts, forests, rivers, and mountains. Then they started to explore the oceans. Today, many explorers want to be the first to go somewhere a new way. Some try to find a different route, or look for new ways to travel. Others want to be the youngest, the fastest, or the first to do something. For example, climb a mountain.
Discover.
An Italian explorer called Reinhold Messner was the first person to climb all 14 mountains that are more than 8,000 meters high. How do people explore? Early explorers used only the stars to find their way. Explorers wanted to share what they found, so they wrote about their journeys and made maps. On the maps, they drew mountains, rivers, and other things that they had seen, to make it easier for other travelers to follow the same route. About 2,200 years ago, Chinese people invented the compass. A compass always points north, so it tells you which direction you are traveling in. GPS instruments that use satellites help modern explorers to find out where they are. Why is exploring important? Information from some early explorers has helped people to make maps to show what the world is like. The things that they wrote tell us what life was like a long time ago in the places that they visited. Explorers have learned about new plants and animals, discovered new materials, and learned new languages. They have also discovered inventions and different ways of doing things. For example, new ways of farming.
Discover.
Modern explorers are still finding new things. Scientists hope that in the future, they will find cures for many diseases in the rainforests and the oceans. Chapter 2. Early explorers. Early people traveled around to look for food. But they weren't explorers. Explorers go from their homeland to discover something about another place, and then they come back and tell people what they found. Early people. People have lived in most parts of the world for thousands of years. Scientists think that early people started in Africa and traveled to Asia. By about 40,000 years ago, there were people in almost every part of Africa, Asia, and Europe. By about 15,000 years ago, they moved into America. Famous early explorers. Chang Chen was an early explorer from China. He explored many other parts of Asia more than 2,100 years ago. Other people followed his route to trade silk from Asia with things from Europe. The route that he took is now called the Silk Road. Marco Polo was an explorer from Venice, now in Italy. In 1271, he traveled from Europe to China. When he returned to Italy 24 years later, he told people about inventions like paper, money, pasta, and ice cream. From about 1325, a Moroccan explorer, Ibn Battuta, explored North Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. He traveled 120,000 kilometers. Famous ocean explorers. Most early explorers traveled over land, but later, explorers traveled over the ocean. The first explorer to sail from China was Cheng He. In 1405, he sailed south to Indonesia, and then across the Indian Ocean and down the east coast of Africa. A Portuguese explorer, Bartolomeu Dias, was the first explorer to travel west from Europe by ship. In 1488, he sailed from Portugal around the south of Africa. 10 years later, another Portuguese explorer, Vasco da Gama, sailed even further and reached India. Christopher Columbus was an explorer from Genoa, now in Italy. He sailed west from Europe. He reached the West Indies in 1492 and thought he was near India, but he was near a place that no one in Europe knew about, America. A Portuguese explorer called Ferdinand Magellan was the first explorer to travel to Asia by sailing west from Spain. In 1520, he sailed around South America and across the Pacific Ocean. In 1616, some Dutch explorers discovered the west of Australia. In 1642, another Dutch sailor called Abel Tasman discovered New Zealand. Antarctica was the last continent to be explored. A British sailor called James Cook explored a lot of places. In 1773, he was the first explorer to cross the Antarctic Circle, but he didn't see Antarctica. People think that the first explorers to land on Antarctica were led by a Norwegian explorer called Henrik Bull in 1895. Chapter 3. Exploring the Past. There are lots of people who explore the past. This helps scientists to understand what is happening on Earth today. How Earth was made. Geologists are scientists who study rocks to learn how Earth was made and how it has changed. they discovered that Earth is made of hot liquid rock that is covered by big pieces of solid rock called plates. The plates can move, and when they crash into each other, they can push up and make a mountain or a volcano, or they can cause an earthquake. Scientists study how the plates move to try to tell when earthquakes will happen or when volcanoes will erupt. Plants and animals in the past. When ancient plants and animals died, they were buried under sand and mud. After a long time, they went hard and changed into fossils. Paleontologists are scientists who study fossils to learn which plants and animals lived on Earth in the past. They have discovered fossilized plants and bones, teeth, eggs, and shells from fish, birds, insects, and other animals that lived up to 500 million years ago. These discoveries give us information about animals that lived a long time ago, like dinosaurs.
Discover.
Scientists have found fossils of ocean animals at the top of Mount Everest. This means that the rocks on Mount Everest were once under the ocean and were pushed up. How people lived in the past. Archaeologists study ancient places, buildings, bones, or objects to learn about how people lived in the past. These things tell us what skills and materials people had, what they believed, and what clothes they wore. Some old buildings, like the Great Wall of China, are easy to see. Sometimes, the things that archaeologists look for have been buried for a long time, and they have to dig them up very carefully.
Discover.
The discovery of the Rosetta Stone in Egypt was very important. It helped people to understand the ancient Egyptian alphabet and to learn about life in ancient Egypt. Important discoveries. Many ancient buildings and objects have been found in Central America, for example, in Mexico. By studying these discoveries, archaeologists have learned a lot about how the Mayan people lived about 2,000 years ago, and how the Aztec people lived about 500 years ago. At Mohenjo-Daro, now in Pakistan, archaeologists have found houses from 4,500 years ago with toilets and bathrooms. Many important discoveries have also been found in caves. In 2009, an archaeologist called Quirino Oliveira found cave paintings more than 6,000 years old in the Andes. Cave paintings at Kakadu National Park in Australia tell archaeologists about people and animals who lived there up to 23,000 years ago. Chapter 4. Deserts. A desert is an area of land where less than 25 centimeters of rain falls every year. At the moment, about 30% of the land on Earth is part of a desert, but deserts are getting bigger. Different types of desert. There are 4 types of desert. They form in different ways near the equator, near the ocean, near mountains, or inland. Only 25% of deserts are sandy, and the rest are made from stones. All deserts are very dry, but they can be hot or cold. Antarctica is a desert. It's very cold, but it doesn't snow there very often. The largest hot desert in the world is the Sahara Desert in Africa. Why do people explore deserts? People have explored deserts for many years. Early desert explorers went to find things to trade, or new trade routes. Not much grows in the desert, but underground there can be salt, oil, gold, or precious stones like diamonds. Today, explorers want to learn about the people who live in deserts, and some just want an adventure. Archaeologists have found villages buried under the sand. In 1922, an American explorer, Roy Chapman Andrews, found lots of dinosaur bones in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia.
Discover.
Explorers keep discovering new things in the desert because the wind blows the sand around and changes the landscape. Desert explorers. Many early desert explorers wanted to be the first to travel all the way across a desert. The first person to travel across the Sahara Desert was a French explorer called jourd Caillet. In 1828, he traveled across the Sahara with camels because they can walk a long way without food or water. In 1887, a British explorer, Francis Younghusband, crossed the Gobi Desert in 70 days. The first women explorers to cross the Gobi Desert were British explorers, Mildred Cable, Evangeline French, and Francesca French, who traveled in a mule cart in about 1926. The first European explorers went to the coast of Australia, but no one knew what was in the center. In 1860, two British explorers, Robert Burke and William Wills, and an Australian explorer called John King, were the first explorers to cross Australia from the south to the north. They brought camels from India to help them. The first woman explorer to cross the Australian desert from east to west was an Australian explorer called Robin Davidson. In 1977, she traveled 2,735 kilometers by camel from Alice Springs in Central Australia to the West Coast. In 1992, American scientists discovered the lost city of Ubar on a space radar image. Then some explorers, led by a British explorer, Ranulph Fiennes, went to find the city in the desert in Oman. Chapter 5. Rivers and Rainforests. Many parts of the world are hard to explore because they are covered by rainforests or mountains. Explorers often travel by river to get to some of these places. New trade routes. In the past, some governments gave explorers money if they found an easier route to another country, because their country could then earn money by trading things. In 1804, American explorers Meriwether Lewis and William Clark explored the Missouri River to look for a new trade route to the Pacific Ocean. It took them 18 months, but they made it. They drew maps and wrote about the things they saw and the people they met. In 1542, a Spanish explorer called Francisco de Orellana sailed down the Amazon River from its source to the Atlantic Ocean. He found lots of new materials to trade. New discoveries. In 1895, a British explorer called Mary Kingsley traveled along the Ogooué River in Africa to learn about the people there. She also found many new types of fish. Lots of river explorers wanted to be the first to find the source, where a river starts. Many explorers have tried to find the source of the Nile River in Africa, the longest river in the world. They have all returned with different ideas.
Discover.
Scientists still don't all agree where the source of the Nile is, but most people think that it's Lake Victoria. Amazing rainforests. Rainforests are very important. They only cover 6% of the land on Earth, but more than half of all types of animal and plant on Earth live there. Some rainforest trees have more flowers and fruits than any other trees in the world. Some medicines that we use are made from plants from the rainforests, and scientists think there are lots more plants to be discovered.
Discover.
Sugar, chocolate, coffee, chewing gum, rubber, and many fruits, nuts, and spices come from rainforests. Rainforest explorers. Many rainforest explorers are scientists looking for new types of plant or animal. In about 1800, a German explorer, Alexander von Humboldt, and a French explorer, Aimé Bonpland, looked for new plants in the South American rainforests. They returned with new information about people and wildlife. In 1848, two British explorers, Alfred Russel Wallace and Henry Bates, went to Brazil to look for new insects. Snakes and insects bit them, and some people shot at them, but they found 14,712 types of insect, including 8,000 new ones. In the past, explorers only moved along the ground. Today, explorers like this American scientist, Meg Lohman, use special ropes to climb trees and explore the top of the rainforest. Chapter 6. The Arctic and Antarctic. The Arctic and Antarctic were the last places to be explored. Early explorers went to see what was there, and later, others went to look for the minerals and ocean animals that were found by early explorers. Reaching the poles. Early explorers wanted to be first to reach the ends of the earth, the poles. Modern explorers try to get to the poles more quickly, or by using different vehicles, for example, a hot air balloon.
Discover.
Near the poles, the sun doesn't go down in summer. This is called the midnight sun. What's at the poles? The Arctic is like a giant ice cube. There's no land there, just ice and water. The Antarctic has land, too. It's called Antarctica. In the past, the Antarctic was warm. Scientists have found fossils there of the same plants and animals that they have found in Australia and South America. They also found fossils of 8 types of dinosaur. Today, there are lots of scientific research stations in Antarctica. Scientists study the wildlife, ice, fossils, weather, and climate to help us to understand more about Earth. There are oil, gas, and minerals under both places, but they are hard to get to through the ice. The Arctic and the North Pole. The first Arctic explorers came from Asia. They wanted to find new land to live on and animals to hunt. The first European explorers arrived in about 1500. They were looking for a shorter trade route to Asia from Europe through the Arctic. In 1728, a Danish explorer, Vitus Bering, was the first explorer to find the Northeast Passage around Russia. In 1906, a Norwegian explorer, Roald Amundsen, found a way around the top of Alaska, now called the Northwest Passage. Most people believe that the first explorer to get to the North Pole was an American explorer, Robert Peary, in 1909. The Antarctic and the South Pole. Roald Amundsen and a British explorer, Robert Scott, raced to be first to the South Pole. Amundsen got to the pole first in December 1911. He used skis and dog sleds and returned safely with all his men. Scott's men walked, pulling everything on sleds. They got to the pole a few weeks later and found that Amundsen's Norwegian flag was already there. Sadly, Scott and his team died on the way back. The first explorers to cross Antarctica were led by a British explorer called Vivian Fuchs in 1958. In 2001, an American explorer, Anne Bancroft, and a Norwegian explorer, Liv Arnesen, were the first women to cross it. Chapter 7. Mountains. Mountains cover about 25% of Earth. They are made of rocks and soil, and they are much higher than the land around them. They form when underground plates crash together and push the land up. This takes millions of years. Record-breaking mountains. The biggest mountain chain is the Himalayas in Asia. Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, is in the Himalayas. Everest is still growing about 5 millimeters every year. The longest mountain chain is under the ocean. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge under the Atlantic Ocean is 16,000 kilometers long. The longest mountain chain on land is the Andes in South America. Why do people explore mountains? Geologists look at the rocks in mountains to learn more about how Earth was made. Some mountain explorers have found metals like gold, silver, copper, and tin. They have also found precious stones like rubies and emeralds, and rocks like granite and limestone. Some mountain plants, like the snow lotus, are used to make medicines. Mountain archaeologists look for ancient remains on the top of mountains. In 1999, Constanza Cerruti from Argentina was exploring 6,739 meters high at the top of the Yuyeco volcano between Argentina and Chile. She and Johann Reinhold found food pots, gold and silver statues, and 3 Inca mummies that were 500 years old. Mountain explorers. Mountain explorers often want to be the first to climb a mountain. A Frenchman called Antoine de Ville climbed Mont Aiguille in the Alps in 1492. Later, some people gave explorers money to climb mountains to see what was there. Michel Gabriel Paccard and Jacques Balmat climbed Mont Blanc for a prize in 1786. Another French explorer called Marie Paradis was the first woman to climb Mont Blanc in 1808. The first people to get to the top of Mount Everest were Edmund Hillary from New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay from Nepal in 1953. About 2,000 people have climbed to the top of Everest, but more than 200 of them never returned. Modern explorers try and find new ways to climb it. The first woman to get to the top of Everest was a Japanese climber called Junko Tabei in 1975. In 1992, she also became the first woman to climb the highest mountain in each of the 7 continents.
Discover.
The youngest person to climb Everest is a Nepalese girl called Ming Kippa Sherpa. She climbed it with her brother and sister in 2003 when she was just 15 years old. Chapter 8. Oceans. After exploring most of the land, people started to explore under the oceans. The oceans are enormous. They cover about 70% of Earth. There are still thousands of kilometers of seabed to be explored. What do we know? There are 5 oceans, but more than half of all the water in the oceans is in just one ocean, the Pacific Ocean. At first, scientists thought that the seabed was flat, but now we know that there are mountains, valleys, volcanoes, and plains under the water. By studying the seabed, scientists have learned that the ocean started to form 4,000 million years ago. They have found bones from land animals on the seabed, which shows that the sea level is much higher now. What's in the oceans? The oceans are full of amazing plants and animals. Some ocean plants, like seaweed, can be used to make medicines. Today, scientists know about 25,000 different types of fish. They find more than 100 new types every year. There are lots of precious things in the oceans. Pearls are jewels that can form inside oyster shells. There are metals like gold, iron, and copper in the seabed too. More than 20% of all the oil that we use comes from under the oceans.
Discover.
There's enough salt in the oceans to cover Earth with up to 150 meters of salt. Ocean explorers. Early ocean explorers could only explore for as long as they could breathe. In 1943, 2 Frenchmen, Jacques Cousteau and Émile Gagnon, invented self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, scuba. This allowed divers to stay underwater for longer and dive deeper than ever before. In 1960, a Swiss explorer, Jacques Picard, and an American, Don Walsh, dived down almost 11 kilometers in a small submarine to the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. It's the deepest that anyone has dived. No one thought anything could live that far down, but they found some new types of fish. An American explorer called Sylvia Alice Earle holds the record for the deepest woman diver in a submersible. She has spent more than 7,000 hours underwater. What next? Modern explorers have better equipment, and they can explore further than ever before. but they don't even have to go anywhere. Today, we can send robots to explore places and bring back information. The oceans are the least explored part of Earth, but there are still things to find in rainforests, mountains to climb, and thousands of places to explore. What part of our world would you like to explore?
Oxford Read and Discover Level 6, Caring for Our Planet, by Joyce Hannam. Read by Christopher Ragland. Introduction. On our planet, Earth, there are many beautiful places. Sadly, some of the things that people do are damaging our planet. We must care for it to keep it safe and clean for all the plants, animals, and people living here. What beautiful places can you see below? What beautiful places are there in your country? How do people damage our planet? How can we care for our planet?
Discover.
Now read and discover more about caring for our beautiful planet. Chapter 1. Using resources carefully. Our planet gives us many natural resources like air to breathe and water to drink. It gives us plants and animals to eat, and coal and oil to make electricity. We need to use all these resources carefully. Renewable resources. Some natural resources, like water, sun, wind, soil, animals, and plants, can replace themselves naturally. They are called renewable resources. They will not run out if we don't use them too quickly. If we use them carefully, we will have lots of these resources to use for a long time. We all need water. Water is one of the most important natural resources on Earth. We need fresh water to drink, and we need it to grow and cook food and to wash. Plants, animals, and people all need water to live. About 70% of Earth is covered with water, but most of this water is salt water in oceans. People need fresh water to drink, but only about 3% of Earth's water is fresh water. In some countries, there isn't enough water. Sometimes, people have to travel a long way to collect water, or they move to a new place where there is water. Non-renewable resources. We use fossil fuels like coal, gas, and oil in power stations to make electricity. We use electricity to power lights. Refrigerators, televisions, and computers all need electricity too. Many people use electricity to cook and to heat their homes. We also use electricity to power some vehicles, and we use oil to make gasoline to power cars and other vehicles. The problem is that these fossil fuels cannot be replaced, so when we have used them all, they will run out. They are called non-renewable resources, and we are using them too quickly.
Discover.
In 2007, the 4 countries that used the most electricity were the USA, China, Russia, and Japan. Countries with more people need more electricity. Pollution. Sometimes we make our resources dirty. This is called pollution. We pollute the air when we use fossil fuels to make energy like electricity. We pollute water when we put waste into it. People, animals, and plants all need clean air and water. What can we do? There are lots of ways we can help. We must keep water clean, and we must not waste it. Some charities are helping people to collect and store water. They are also building new dams, wells, and pumps so that people can have clean water nearer their homes. We must use non-renewable resources carefully, and we must not waste them. Scientists are investigating ways to use renewable resources, like sun, wind, and water, to make electricity, so that we don't need to use so many fossil fuels. We can also try to use less electricity. Chapter 2. Keeping our planet cool. Scientists think that Earth's climate is changing, and the weather is getting more extreme. They think that this is happening because Earth is getting warmer. Why is this happening? And how can we keep our planet cool? The greenhouse effect. Earth gets heat from the sun. Some of the heat escapes into space, but some is trapped by a blanket of gases. This keeps Earth warm enough for us to live here, and it's called the greenhouse effect because it works like a greenhouse. Global warming. When we use fossil fuels, we make a gas called carbon dioxide. Scientists think that we are putting too much carbon dioxide into the air. The carbon dioxide increases the greenhouse effect, and Earth gets warmer. This is called global warming. Extreme weather. Scientists think that global warming is changing our climate and making the weather more extreme. This is a problem for people, animals, and plants. Hurricanes are getting more dangerous. In 2005, a huge hurricane hit New Orleans in the USA. About 2,000 people died, and most of the city was flooded. There are many rivers in Bangladesh. There are always floods in the rainy season, but the floods are getting worse. Every year, some people die and thousands of people lose their homes.
Discover.
In Bangladesh, some people make floating gardens. They grow food on them so that they have food during the floods. In the Sahara Desert in Africa, there is not enough rain, and the desert is getting bigger. People have left their homes because they can't grow food. The Gobi Desert in China and Mongolia is also getting bigger. Desert sand blows all the way into cities in North Korea and South Korea. Melting ice. Earth is getting warmer, and the ice is melting at the North and South Poles. As this ice changes to water, the sea level is getting higher. This is dangerous for low countries like Bangladesh and for low islands. Tuvalu is a country in the Pacific Ocean, and it's made of groups of islands. Parts of the capital, Funafati, are now only 10 centimeters above sea level. Scientists think that the ocean will soon cover the land, and the people who live there will have to move to other countries like New Zealand or Australia. What can we do? Scientists are investigating ways of predicting extreme weather so that people can be ready for it. Charities are working with people to build stronger and higher homes. They are also giving people special radios so that they can hear about extreme weather and move to a safer place. Our planet has natural ways to reduce carbon dioxide. Oceans and plants use carbon dioxide, so we must protect our oceans and plants. We must try to keep Earth cool by using fewer fossil fuels and producing less carbon dioxide. We need electricity, but we can make it without using fossil fuels. Instead, we can use nuclear energy or natural energy from the sun, wind, or water. Chapter 3. Making clean electricity. Scientists are investigating ways of making clean electricity that is not made with fossil fuels. This is important if we want to reduce global warming and pollution. How is electricity made in your country? Nuclear energy. Nuclear power stations make electricity without using fossil fuels. They don't put carbon dioxide into the air, but they produce dangerous radioactive waste. This waste is put underground or under the ocean, where it must stay for thousands of years before it's safe. If there's an accident at a nuclear power station, dangerous radioactive waste can get into the air and travel a long way. In 1986, an accident happened in Chernobyl, in Ukraine. People died, and many more people were sick. About 336,000 people had to move away to new homes. Scientists are working hard to make nuclear power stations safer. Solar energy. Another way to make electricity is to use the heat from the sun. Solar power stations only work well in places where it's very sunny all year long. In many countries, people use solar energy from solar panels to heat water in homes, offices, and swimming pools, and to power watches, calculators, and road signs.
Discover.
In sunny countries, you can cook by using only heat from the sun. All you need is sunshine and a solar panel. Wind energy. Wind turbines use the energy from the wind to make electricity. We can build wind turbines in isolated places and also in the oceans. They can be useful in colder countries where there is not enough sunshine to use solar energy to make electricity. Germany, for example, makes 6% of its electricity in wind farms. All around the world, there are more and more wind farms. Geothermal energy. Geothermal energy comes from the heat that is trapped underground. Hot water and steam from underground can be used to heat buildings and to make electricity. In Iceland, there is lots of hot water underground. Geothermal power stations make about 25% of Iceland's electricity.
Discover.
Hot water from the Svartsengi geothermal power station in Iceland is used to fill an outdoor pool. It's clean enough for swimming. Energy from water. We can make electricity by using energy from moving water in rivers, lakes, or oceans. This is called hydroelectricity. The first hydroelectric power station was built in 1882. It was a simple water wheel. It made enough electricity for 250 light bulbs. The biggest hydroelectric power station in the world today is the Three Gorges Dam in China. It can make enough electricity for whole cities. In 1966, scientists in France started to make electricity using energy from ocean tides. Then, other scientists used energy from waves. Scientists are now investigating better ways of using energy from tides and waves to make cheap and clean electricity. Chapter 4. Reducing travel. Most of us travel to school or to work every day. Maybe we travel by car to go shopping, or to visit friends, or by plane to go on vacation. Why should we travel less? The problem with travel. Cars, planes, buses, and ships all put carbon dioxide into the air. This increases the greenhouse effect and makes our planet warmer. Vehicles also pollute the air with other gases. This makes our cities dirty.
Discover.
Airports are getting very, very busy. About 59,000 international passengers travel through the main airport in New York every day. What can we do? It's very difficult to stop traveling, but we can think carefully about the way we travel. For short journeys, we can walk or cycle. This is also better than sitting in a car because exercise is good for us. We can share cars or use public transportation for some journeys. We can try to use small cars because they use less fuel than big ones. We should also reduce the number of vehicles that we make because we use fossil fuels to power the factories where we make the vehicles. Some people try to fly less often, and if they have to fly, they do something called carbon offsetting. They find out how much carbon dioxide their journey will produce. Then, they pay to plant enough trees to use all the carbon dioxide that the journey made. Cleaner cars. Engineers are investigating how to make car engines cleaner so that they won't damage our planet so much. Modern cars have machines called catalytic converters that change exhaust gases into cleaner gases. Instead of using gasoline, some cars use electricity, and others use a mixture of gasoline and electricity. Some cars use fuels made from plants. These biofuels can be made from nuts, corn, and other plants. There are also a few cars that use electricity made from solar energy. Maybe in the future, all cars will be powered in these ways. cleaner planes. Engineers are trying to make plane engines that don't pollute the air, but it's very difficult. They know that lighter planes with bigger wings use less fuel. They are designing better planes all the time. Some planes can fly using biofuels, but many people think it's wrong to grow plants for planes. They say that we need the land to grow food for people. What do you think? A few planes are already powered by solar energy, but they don't have any space for passengers.
Discover.
The Zephyr plane is powered by solar energy. It's very light and it doesn't carry people. In 2008, it flew without stopping for 83 hours. Chapter 5. Keeping our planet clean. Every day, we throw away waste from our homes, schools, offices, and factories. This waste is collected in trucks. Then some is recycled, and some is burned or put underground. What do you do with your waste? Too much waste. People throw away too much waste. In some countries, there is not enough space to put any more waste underground. Some things that we throw away, like plastic bags, refrigerators, and cars, will stay underground for hundreds of years.
Discover.
In the USA, every person produces more than 2 kilograms of waste every day. So, for the whole country, that's more than 232 million metric tons. Waste makes pollution. Sometimes, people throw waste into rivers, lakes, or the ocean. Human waste and waste from factories also pollute water. More than 1 billion people in the world do not have clean water to drink. Every day, people die from dirty drinking water. Some people leave waste on streets, in the countryside, and on beaches. This pollutes our planet, and it's dangerous for animals if they eat the waste. Too many plastic bags. We throw away more plastic bags than anything else. Plastic bags are a huge problem for our planet. It's difficult to recycle them. You can use a plastic bag for only 5 minutes, but it can take 500 years to decompose. People throw away too many plastic bags, and this pollutes our cities, countryside, and oceans. Many fish, birds, and other animals die if they eat a plastic bag, because then they can't breathe or eat food. If people have to pay for plastic bags, they will use them less. In 2002, when people in Ireland were asked to pay for plastic bags, the number of bags used reduced by 90% in 1 year. In many countries today, there are no free plastic bags. Try to use plastic bags lots of times, or use a bag that is made of a natural material instead. What can we do? When we throw things away, we must do it carefully. Never throw waste into streets, rivers, or the ocean. We can throw away less waste, for example. We can reuse more things before we throw them away. We can throw away much less food and garden waste by using a compost bin. In a compost bin, worms and bacteria eat the waste and change it into good soil called compost. We can use compost to help plants to grow better. Another way to reduce waste is to recycle things. Many people already recycle lots of things, like paper, cans, plastic and glass containers, and clothes. We can also recycle bigger things like parts of cars. The recycled materials can then be used again to make new things.
Discover.
In Kamikatsu, in Japan, people are hoping to recycle everything by 2020. They divide their waste into 34 different types for recycling. Chapter 6. Protecting Plants. Without plants, we would have nothing to eat. We also use plants to make clothes, homes, and medicines. Plants take carbon dioxide from the air, and they give us oxygen to breathe too. Plants are really important. Food chains. All living things are part of food chains. Plants are at the start of all food chains because plants only need sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide from the air to make their food. Animals need to eat plants, or they eat other animals that eat plants. So we all need plants. Food and drink. Plants give us food like fruit, vegetables, and rice. We eat fruit and vegetables because they contain vitamins that keep us healthy. Cereal crops, like wheat and corn, give us flour to make bread. Many drinks, like tea, coffee, and chocolate, come from plants. We also use some plants as herbs or spices to make our food taste good.
Discover.
We use olive trees in many ways. We can eat the fruit and use oil made from the fruit for cooking. The oil is also good for our hair and skin. Medicines. For thousands of years, people have used plants as medicines. Many modern medicines are made from chemicals that were first found in plants. Many plants that are used for medicines grow in rainforests. For example, the rosy periwinkle from Madagascar contains chemicals that can treat 2 types of cancer. Reducing global warming. In the daytime, plants take carbon dioxide from the air to make their food. This helps to reduce global warming. It's one of our planet's natural ways to reduce carbon dioxide. Plants in danger. Plants need clean air and water to grow. Polluted air and water can damage them. Global warming is also a problem. Some plants cannot grow in their usual place if the temperature gets too high, or if there is extreme weather, like floods. We are using too many trees. Big international companies cut down huge numbers of trees for wood to make furniture or paper. Sometimes they cut down trees in rainforests to make space to grow crops or to raise cattle, so that they can produce cheap food like palm oil and hamburgers. What can we do? If we keep our planet clean and use fewer fossil fuels to reduce global warming, we will save millions of plants. We must also use fewer trees. We can use less paper and recycle it. Some charities collect money to buy trees to keep them safe. We can pay people to care for trees and use them in different ways to make money. For example, farmers can sell nuts from their trees. We must stop companies destroying rainforests to bring us cheap food. We can plant new trees. Countries and big companies can also replace the trees that they use. Finland and Canada already do this. Chapter 7. Protecting Animals. Earth is home to many amazing animals, from tiny bacteria that we can't even see to huge whales. We share our planet with all these other animals. Animals help us in many different ways, and we must protect them. We need animals. Many animals, like cows, sheep, and chickens, are raised for food. Farmers raise them to give us meat, cheese, eggs, and milk. In the ocean, there are fish farms where large numbers of fish are raised for food. We use animals to give us leather, wool, and feathers. Around the world, animals are also used to help us with work. They carry people and crops, and they help with farm work. Useful mini-beasts. Insects, like beetles, flies, and ants, help the planet too. Some insects carry pollen from flower to flower. Many flowers need pollen from another flower to make seeds. Bees fly from flower to flower to get nectar to make honey. People collect the honey and enjoy eating it. Many insects are useful because they eat waste, and worms help us by making compost and keeping the soil healthy. Animals in danger. Every animal has a special place to live called its habitat, but people are destroying many of these important habitats. When we cut down the rainforest trees, we destroy the habitat of gorillas and tigers, and hundreds of smaller animals. Global warming is also a problem for animals. For example, if too much ice at the North Pole melts, polar bears will lose their habitat. Hunters kill some animals for money. Many elephants were hunted because people could sell their ivory tusks for a lot of money. Now, this has stopped. But all around the world, hundreds of different types of animal, from insects to tigers, are disappearing because of lost habitats or hunting. Pollution is also a huge problem for animals. What can we do? We must protect habitats, and we must keep the countryside clean. Many countries have made special places called national parks or wildlife parks, where wild animals can live safe from hunters. In Africa, there are also safari parks where tourists from all around the world can come and see the animals in their natural habitat. Zoos today. Many wild animals are kept in zoos or animal reserves. If they are rare animals, the last ones can be kept safe there. They can have babies, and there will be more of them again. Many modern zoos keep animals in places similar to their natural habitat. Sometimes, they take the animals back to their natural home when it's safe. Some charities work to save rare animals and their habitats. You can pay to adopt an animal and help to keep it safe. These giant pandas live in a special animal reserve in China. Many people are adopting giant pandas and helping them here. Chapter 8. The Way Forward. Most people understand that we must care for our planet. We must now learn how to do it better. Earth is our home, and we must protect it for the future. What will you do to care for our planet? A simple life? Some people think that modern city life is bad for Earth. We use too much energy, and we make too much waste. They think that we should live in small villages, grow our own food on the land, and not travel far. This life would not damage our planet. New technology. Other people think that we cannot go back to a simpler way of living. They think that new technology can help us to find new, clean ways to travel and make energy. You can see some of this new technology in new types of house design. These new houses don't use any energy from fossil fuels, but they are still comfortable in very hot or cold weather. They have solar panels in the roof, and they are made of wood from forests where trees are always replaced. Do you think we should live more simply or use new technology? Or should we do both? What can we do? When we go shopping, we must think carefully about what we buy. Some food that we buy comes from near our homes. Other food comes on planes and ships from far away, and we use fossil fuels to transport it. Some people say we should eat more food that is grown near to our homes. Do we need summer fruit in winter? How much of the food that you buy was grown near where you live? We must not be greedy. For example, no one wants oceans with no fish in them. We can take some fish, but we must not take too many. We must be careful not to use too many of Earth's natural resources too quickly. In our everyday life, we can all help the planet in small ways. We can reuse and recycle as much as possible to reduce waste and pollution. We can turn off lights to save electricity, and we can try not to use our cars too much to reduce carbon dioxide. We can give money to charities that care for the planet. If millions of people do small things, this will make a difference. It's our planet. Scientists think that we don't have much time to reduce global warming. So we have to change the way we live now. The people of Tuvalu and Bangladesh are worried about their future. So are the people near the Sahara and Gobi deserts. They need everyone to help. We must all help to care for our planet.